This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. It's my job to help you maximize revenue and eliminate chaos in your construction business. This is the podcast for the small construction business owner. Got a great interview for you today with Jesse Lane out of Florida. He's a commercial general contractor. Here's what you're going to get out of this interview. You're going to learn about his most expensive mistakes, how he got started in business, what his business development strategy is, if you're doing residential work, why you want to get into commercial work, how you can make that jump. We're going to learn about some of his personal habits that help him create time in his day. We'll also talk a little bit about building an operations playbook online to systematize your business, and then how he's using video to build his personal brand and why you might want to consider building your personal brand. Good stuff. Before we get into that interview, a few resources I want to share with you. First of all, save the date, October 17th through the 19th, 2019. You need to be in Lexington, Kentucky for the Advance Fall 2019. October 17th through 19th. Save the date. More information coming out soon. Couple of days. You're going to get to be part of a community of construction business owners. You're going to be able to share wisdom, share ideas, share struggles, develop relationships with people that you can count on and talk to after that. And you're going to get the opportunity to work on your business. I talk a little bit about this in the interview with Jesse, but what's coming soon is a shift in the Construction Business Accelerator program over at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. Here's what's coming next. If you want your business to run without you, if you want to be able to work on your business instead of work in your business, if you want to own a business instead of owning a job, then you need to pay attention to what's coming down the pike at the Construction Business Accelerator. What we're going to do in there is we're going to learn how to put together systems, how to delegate, how to basically get yourself in a position where your business can run without you at least 1 week a quarter, maybe 1 week a month. What would it be like if you could get away from your business for an entire week once every quarter? What if you had systems in place and you had the people in place and you had the backlog in place to where you could travel 1 week a quarter? Heck, what if it was just 1 week a year? I've heard some people who tell horror stories about how I'll never go on vacation again. Well, it's not the vacation that's the problem. It's your lack of systems, and it's probably you, quite frankly. But that's what we're going to work on in the Construction Business Accelerator program and in my coaching program, is how to get your business to run without you. I'm going to give you the systems and the training and the mindset changes, and then give you the excuse in the form of a trip to the Advance in Lexington, Kentucky, that will force you to put systems in place. So if you want your business to run without you, my advice is, as soon as registration opens up for the Advance, book your seats, grab early bird pricing if it's available, book non-refundable airfare, and commit to it. Because if you want something to happen, the best thing you can do is commit first and then figure it out. So keep an eye out on that. Keep an eye out for that. And if you want to go ahead and grab your seat in the Construction Business Accelerator program, there's about $9,000 worth of content in there. The Revenue Maximizer that will help you run your business from right to left. The Contractor Sales Accelerator, where you'll learn how to build a fat backlog of work with healthy margins and not compete on price as much, maybe even avoid the price objection. So go to constructionbusinessaccelerator.com, grab your free trial, and get in there. It's coming soon. Something else that I want to tease you about is I'm building a freelance platform. What does that mean? Well, what that means is here's what I see going on as I talk to people all over the country and frankly the U.S. and Canada. A lot of contractors say things like, man, I need to hire an estimator. I need to hire an assistant. I need to hire a bookkeeper. I need to hire a project manager. I need to hire an admin. Well, the struggle is it's very difficult to find people right now. And people say things like, oh, I don't know where they're going to sit. I don't know if I have enough work to keep them busy. I don't want to hire somebody away from a job only to find out that I can't really afford them. I've got this software that I need to implement, and I don't have time to implement it, much less train somebody on it. I can't find somebody in my city, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But what if you're a construction business owner, what if you could find somebody who has the expertise, the software, the training, the workflow to do exactly what you need, and you can hire them basically like an information subcontractor. You can pay them a fixed amount, hire them on a contract basis, on an as-needed basis, on a part-time basis. And what if you had access to somebody like that? Well, that's what I'm working on with this freelancer platform. And then for those of you who have expertise, maybe you're a bookkeeper, or you're a Procore wizard, you're a co-construct ninja, you're a project manager, you're an estimator that has some capacity. Maybe things are a little slow for you. Maybe you own your own business and things are a little slow and you could use a little bit of supplemental income, and you know these things. Well, that's what this freelancer platform will do, is connect the people who need experts with the people who have the expertise and do resource leveling. So if you're interested in either side of that, finding somebody to do freelance work, or you are a freelancer and you're interested in doing that, send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. Tell me what you've got, what you're looking for. I'm going to be rolling this thing out very soon to a small group of beta users. And if you want to get in on that, then shoot me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. One more thing before we get to the interview with Jesse Lane. If you are a commercial general contractor and if you fall into one of these categories, maybe you're a second generation business owner, maybe you've stepped into a role, or you've had to step into a situation because of a health issue from a father, uncle, grandfather, mother, whatever the case may be. If you're a second generation person, or you stepped into a leadership role and you're just kind of struggling to find your place, or maybe you are part of a partnership. Maybe you're a husband-wife team, or maybe you have a business partner and things just aren't going well. You need to clarify roles and responsibilities and iron out some things. Or frankly, maybe if you're just frustrated with your business, frustrated by the lack of results, maybe cash flow's not going well, you're not growing, you're just frustrated. You're wondering, why am I doing this? Why do I own a job? Maybe you're actually thinking about closing your business down. You're looking at job postings. Before you do that, before you go any further, before you get through the rest of the year, I want to help you. So what I'd like to do is get on the phone with you for a free call, and I'll help you identify the roadblocks, help you map out a course of action to get you where you want to be, and point you in the direction of some of the resources that I have available. I want to help you. So to schedule your free call, go to constructionleadingedge.com/call, and we can take the first step there. You can pick a time if time slots are still available and get a free strategy call. So now, without further ado, let's get to the interview with Jesse Lane. Jesse Lane, welcome to the podcast. How's it going, man?
Thank you. It's going well, Todd. How are you?
Excellent. So let's jump into it with one of my favorite questions, and then we'll talk about what kind of work you're currently doing, how you got started. We're going to jump into a bunch of stuff. But let's start with this. What was your most expensive mistake? And there could be a couple of them, but what were your most expensive and educational mistakes?
Not understanding overhead. I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I made as a beginning entrepreneur, someone who was young. I started my company when I was 22 years old, and I'm now 27, so we're in our 5th or 6th year, and it's been a ride, to say the least. And I've really, really enjoyed every single year of this process. But say I take a job for 80 grand, right? Back in the day, this is some residential job. My costs were 60. I thought I was making 20. Little did I know, overhead is a real thing. If that job took me 5 months to complete, and my overhead is 20 grand a month, you do the math. So I think my biggest mistakes are not doing market research, because I started kind of jumping rabbits here, but I started a framing crew. building new homes, and we would just go out and do the framing, because I had a project manager, estimator that was working with me. And he's like, this is a great opportunity. Let's put together an in-house framing crew. So we're like, all right, great. I'm one of those guys that just kind of just runs after something if I think it's the least bit of a good idea. We went to Harbor Freight, bought all kinds of air hoses and guns and all kinds of stuff. And I bought a trailer on Craigslist, and I even found people on Craigslist that had, probably no idea what they were doing, didn't have any time to season the team, right? So these guys just threw them out there, a bunch of cats, right? Got to herd the cats. So we framed a multitude of homes, lost a considerable amount of money on this venture. And this is back probably 2015, 16. And I paid the debt off on that mistake, and the fact of what I said before about not understanding margin versus markup. And I literally just got out of debt end of last year. From 4 years, go ahead, of not understanding overhead and yeah. So go ahead.
So let's go back to market research. A common mistake that I see a lot of people making, and I made it for a long time, was here's an idea. I fall in love with the idea. I'm convinced that somebody out there will love the idea. And then I run full speed and then go try to sell it. Does that sound familiar?
You cut off the last part you said. Say it one more time.
Just I would fall in love with an idea and go out and try to sell it, only to find out that it wasn't that great of an idea. So if you had to do over again, well, let's start with this. What went wrong with the framing crew operation?
That's a great question. I mean, not managing properly, having the numbers, detailed out beforehand, say, this is what we're getting paid. This is what it's going to cost us in overhead to do. And this is what it's going to cost us in direct costs as well. And a really understanding, kind of a pre-planning. So like you always say, plan every job like you're about to rob a bank. And so I think that could have been a really good investment on my side to say, here's what this upstart cost is going to cost me to buy the trailer, buy the tools, I bought the $1,000 generator. I bought everything I needed to be a baller framing contractor. And I probably could have made it work, but we didn't have the high margin work to sustain it. So
yeah,
another big thing is getting a flashy office. When I was really too young in business to really have that. At this point, we small little office, nothing crazy. And growing my team slowly. I've gutted the company a couple of years back, and I'm slowly putting it back together. And I have a couple of people that have, been with me for 3-4 years, and they're just as dedicated as I am. I mean, you're never going to find people that are just as dedicated as you, the owner, but you can find fantastic 6s and 7s on a 1 to 10 scale, but you will never be another 10. There will never be another 10 other than you, but you have to be happy with 6s, 7s, maybe 8.5s. You know what I mean? Build a team of those, and not 2s and 3s. You're good to go. And I would kind of jump ship there, but yeah. No,
that's good. So if you were to go back before you made the trip to Harbor Freight, if you could go back in time and talk to Jesse as he was about to jump in the truck and go to Harbor Freight and buy a bunch of hoses and tools and jump into the framing business, what advice would you give that Jesse right now?
I would say stop everything you're doing and start doing tenant improvements. Get into commercial construction sooner. And that's what I've done at this point, Todd, is I've taken my company and completely turned it around from a company that started out doing bathrooms and kitchens for mom and pop. And we've, the residential, and we've talked about this on my YouTube channel about how going from residential to commercial and that switch, right? It's really the aspect of lots of emotion for very little margin, and going into lots of margin with very little emotion. It's a business transaction, B2B on commercial. And so that's what I would have told myself.
Yeah. So get into commercial. Obviously there's a lot of people that do well with residential, and there's a lot of people that do well with commercial.
Right.
Do you think it's, do you think it's a personality thing? How would you Yeah, let's look at it this way. How would you advise somebody? Somebody said, Jesse, I think I could do both. I'm not sure which way to go. How would you help them pick which direction to go?
Right. So, I mean, if it was me, unless I was a 10 to 20 years in business and really established contractor, I would say, yeah, you could have a residential division and a commercial division, but I really think they're two separate companies, because I've gotten advice from mentors saying, looking at my website, I'm like, oh, I do kitchens, bathrooms, room additions, but I also do Sonny's barbecues and fitness centers, and he's like, get that residential, crap off your website. People that are developers, the architects, the real estate brokers, come on there, they see the bathrooms, they're not going to hire you. So I'd say pick one when your first year, 1 to 10 years, would be my immediate, gut shot advice. And
Yeah, pick one. And the reality is you could probably be successful at just about anything you do. If it's a reasonable idea and there's a demand for it, you could probably be
only if you have the margins.
Yeah. So let's talk about commercial. If somebody's at that point where they are thinking about starting a business and they're weighing the pros and cons, what are the pros and cons of commercial work?
Well, in regards to the money aspect, or the client aspect, or the marketing aspect, or which aspect?
I would say, well, let me put a finer point on it. What are some of the not so apparent things about commercial work that somebody needs to be aware of? Now, for example, if somebody's thinking about commercial work, they may not realize that payment terms are a little different.
Right.
Maybe some hidden.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny though? Is this is just me, but regarding payment terms, I used to be scared. I'm like 60, 90-day net. Like, well, we can't do that because we only got, 20 grand in the bank or whatever it was when I was a kid. So it's like, how do we make the jump? Right. And what I found was they're just people. They're the same people but they own a business, not a home. It's really, and I assume, and Todd, you've been in, 20, 30, $40 million distribution centers where I haven't built those with my company. So what I've done is jobs like $1 million, $2 million, $500,000, $150,000 tenant improvement, in that ballpark. I've been able to negotiate with these people and have gotten great payment terms because they're just business owners just like myself. So it's not as scary as you think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's a really good point. It may seem like you're working with a business or some cold entity, but the reality is whoever you're selling to, whoever's signing the contract, they're a person and they're a human. And that's what it comes down to.
And like a Planet Fitness, right? They're a little bit more strict because they're corporate, and that's really going to be inaccurate as far as what I said, as far as they're just a person and they're, you can work with them. I'm more referring to the doctor that wants to open a new practice, the animal clinic that is buying 40 this year, and they found me on Google and we're running with them. We're modeling. We're doing $400,000, 2,700 square foot. It's a small building, is what I'm saying, and it's an expensive remodel. Moving X-ray machines and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Complete renovation.
Yeah.
So, but the big GCs, if you're a subcontractor, they might say, well, 60 days net. And you're like, well, how am I going to get into commercial work as a sub? And I think the biggest thing is work with it and tough luck, or find a GC like myself, my company. We don't do that because we try to negotiate terms to where we can pay our subs immediately. We use an online, project management software. We happen to use Buildertrend, and we just pay our subs through the purchase order online. As soon as I sign the lien waiver, boom, money's in their account in like a day or two, and that's it. When the work's complete, and we do hold 10% retainage, until we have a final CO, a certificate of occupancy on the project, just to make sure they come back and fix their work. But yeah, if they bill for 30, 50% or 40% electrical, on electrical rough and we've passed inspection, let's pay the subs, pay a man what he's worth.
Yeah. No, and I think that's key right now. The key to general contractors is to have good subcontractors and paying them quickly, taking good care of them. There's a really big business case for that. So commercial,
it's everything.
So the pros and cons of commercial, you're dealing with less emotion. And I can tell you, I have never sat across the table from a commercial client on a Sunday afternoon and listened to her cry about dust on her windows. That has never happened.
We have all been there.
Client, but that
We've
has
all
happened.
been there on residential.
Oh man, yeah. So if that's in your wheelhouse, then good for you. There's certainly a market there. But what you got to understand, the difference between commercial and residential is less emotion, margins, bigger volume. You can go set up on one big project for weeks or months versus bounce around between smaller projects. And just, I think a good point here is there are some misconceptions about commercial, like payment terms, contracts. Well, maybe I don't know anything about an AIA contract. Well, your client probably doesn't either. And if you can go negotiate with those people, ultimately, it's about relationship. This is what I found in commercial. Ultimately, it's about relationship. And frankly, even if you do have a really robust, onerous contract in place, if you have a good relationship with that client,
right,
that contract won't ever get enforced. You can get around some of those onerous things. So let's talk about what kind of work you're doing. Talk a little bit about your company, where you're at, what kind of work you do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, perfect. We'll skim through this. I know everyone listening wants to get to some juicy stuff. So I'm a commercial general contractor in Jacksonville, Florida. We do tenant improvements, new construction. We work with Sonny's Barbecue, Signature Flight, private jet facility, complete renovation of that. We're doing, of course, like I said, the animal clinics right now with a major corporation. We've done a lot of fitness rooms. My first permit I ever pulled I was 22 years old. It was a 6,000 square foot commercial waxing center. It's called Brazil's Waxing Center. Interesting first job, but complete commercial renovation. Yeah, and knocked it out of the park, and it was fantastic. So we've been all over the aspect that we've done a brewery, we've done multiple things, you name it. So we're continually building. My team is small but growing. I probably have 5 to 7 employees, like project managers, superintendents, assistants. I just hired kind of like a video marketing guy, and so that's exciting. And that's me. And I have a YouTube channel, Jesse Lane, JESSELANE. You can just look that up on YouTube, and I kind of share the insights of what it's like growing a business, kind of like my motive, or my guy is like Gary Vee, that kind of thing. Like, I'm nowhere near him, but he's my goal.
Yeah.
But, I try to inspire people and help them grow their own construction businesses.
That's cool. I want to talk about video a little bit later on.
We'll get there.
We will definitely get there. So talk about how you got started. You mentioned you pulled your first permit for a 6,000 square foot waxing facility when you were 22. There's probably plenty of puns available there. We're going to just pass those.
Yeah.
Leave that to the
We did have notes about that. No, we didn't. I started when I was 15. My family moved me from Pennsylvania to Texas when I was 15. We drove 24 hours of a drive from Pennsylvania, and I was a pot-smoking skater kid that knew nothing. I didn't even know what a chalk box was. And I went out there to Texas, and we were in Waco, Texas, and I was introduced to a whole new world of what it meant to use your two hands and build something. My favorite feeling was framing something up and then climbing all over it, setting the trusses or putting the roof on. I love that feeling of climbing on stuff that you just constructed. It was really cool. So I learned carpentry, trim carpentry, framing, drywall, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, all this stuff that, foundations, concrete, all the stuff that it takes to make a home. And I learned framing. I built homes with the guys that built George W. Bush's home in Crawford, Texas. And a lot of my friends that I built homes with, and on another aspect, built like barns and boat docks and sheds and remodeled residential places, like kind of even training them once I kind of knew what I was doing for the most part. They're now working with Chip and Joanna Gaines in Waco, Texas. You know, they built their Magnolia facility. They built Joanna's guest house on her property. And, you know, so it's interesting where this has come kind of full circle. Actually, I'll say this on here in high hopes, but HDTV actually contacted me about 3 days ago. They said, we've seen your YouTube channel. We're doing a new HDTV home makeover show this year. We're going to be filming, and we want you to be the contractor on this national television show.
Wow.
But they didn't say they say we're highly considering you, and I sent them a demo reel yesterday. So anyway, pray for me. We'll see what happens, but very potentially the next July, August, I will be leaving my business for 10 weeks potentially and building 10 homes in 10 weeks for people in need on national television. So we will see. Right. We'll see what happens there. So actually, to say that, I'm diving back into building systems for my company. And that's a whole nother rabbit trail. So I'll stop there, but I'm trying to get everyone know what I'm doing while I'm gone. So from Texas, I've always worked in construction after that point. There was actually a really low point where I was like a server at Olive Garden and I worked at Chick-fil-A or something like that. I was probably 18, 19. I had moved from Texas. I actually lived in Iowa for a little bit. Council Bluffs, horrible city, bad time of my life. From there, I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. I'll skip past that. We can always talk more if you want. But I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. I have family here, and my parents still live in Waco, Texas. And they're part of a church community that really, it completely changed my life, but it wasn't a long-term fit for me. So I moved to Jacksonville, Florida. I have family here. I pretty much started my own business. I opened up an LLC a year and a half, 2 years after just continually working for like David Weekley Homes, like doing all their trim carpentry and framing and decks and window installation, you know, inside. Like I've done a lot of the aspects of construction. And so at that point, the guy I was kind of working for, he's like, you should get your own LLC. So I did. And then I had my own LLC. And then another guy, my friend's dad, was like, you should get your contractor's license. I'm like, why do I need a contractor's license? He's like, well, I want to start, you know, flipping homes. And I just think it'd be good for you to have that. And I was also dating a girl that her parents were like, so you're a trim carpenter? They looked up online, trim carpenter salary, $35,000. You're not going to marry our daughter. You know what I mean? That we broke up in 2014. But anyway, at that point, well, everything's pointing towards, I need to get my contractor's license. So I went to the test, spent about 9 months studying, got my certified building contractor's license, which there's actually 3 levels of contractor: residential, building, and general. So at this point, I'm a general because I've held my building contractor's license for 4 years. And so you can upgrade after you pass the test. So I've gone through, and I just spent the last 9 months of 2018 studying for my general contractor's license. So the only difference between those is you can't build above 3 stories. That's the only difference. Residential, going back to the first stage, you can't do any commercial. So I got building to start. And that really, really blew my world up because I was able to get that waxing center with that license. And then I was able to go from there. So now that I have general, I can build skyscrapers. But that's a great idea of where Jesse Lane started his career.
Very nice. How did you get your first project? How did you land that 6,000 square foot waxing center?
You know, I want to talk nitty gritty. I want to help the listeners if they're still here. Hopefully I'm interesting enough. But long story short, like I want to talk contracts and how I actually did it and how they found me. So they found me on Google, right? So I've always been a Google fanatic as far as using it for my business. Social media as well. So Facebook page. I don't think I even had an Instagram page for my business back then, but they found me on Google. They're like, man, you really look, because I had stayed up real late for like weeks and weeks, like developing this website on Squarespace. You just go to Squarespace, you get a domain. It's jlaneconstruction.com, JLANE construction.com. And you can use that, you can use it as a template for yourself. Anyway, so I just click and drag. I dragged photos of our past work. I wrote stuff, and you can just click a text box and just type it in. Very simple. Most contractors' websites look like spreadsheets. My website looks more like a tech company, you know, so It's a little bit more, and I'm a millennial. I'm 27 years old. So it's a little bit more friendly for it's the user, the client. So anyway, at this point now we have like all kinds of testimonial videos and really great photos, and we've kind of upped our game. But how did I get that? So the contract, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, is this an $80,000 job or $250? I'm like, I don't know. So what I did was I took the electrician aside. I'm like, how much will you charge me an hour? And how long do you think it'll take you? It's like $50 an hour. And I went back to the client. I said, I'm going to charge you $75 an hour for the electrician. Same with the framers, the drywallers. This guy's 30, this guy's 50, and they were charging me 20 and 35, whatever it was. So I made that margin, and I got paid every 2 weeks. Maybe it was even every week. I don't remember. But long story short, I crushed it, and I didn't lose because it was impossible to lose. And they spent just about what they thought they were going to spend, whatever it was, 150 grand or something like that. And that was it.
Simple. And they found you put together a deal, you covered your risk, made them happy. Yeah.
Right. They got the job done and learned on the job. I mean, the X and the line on the HVAC, supply return, like I was learning everything. I'm like, that's how you cut dog ears or whatever you call them for metal framing for doors and sills. And I'm like, I'm sitting there watching these subs and like, like it's all coming together,
Yeah. And frankly, there's really no better way to learn than to get yourself in a situation where you have to learn, right?
There's no other choice.
Yeah. Very cool. So let's talk about outbound marketing. Those folks came to you,
right?
And they came to you through Google. What's your outbound business development strategy? If you had to pick, if you had one, what's your number one strategy for business development right now?
Well, honestly, for me, it's Google reviews. We've been the number one rated in Jacksonville, Florida, general contractor on Google for the last 4.5 years. And we get 3,000 to 4,000 people every single 28-day period looking at our website, coming through Google, and we get blown up. So touching on the office staff, it's called Intelligent Office, but it's that's the name of the company, but it's a virtual office. And it's in Jacksonville. It's about 7 minutes from my house. It's in River Place Tower. And this is kind of a trade secret. So if you're this far into the podcast, you're going to get the goods. Long story short, there's like 4 ladies that sit up there. I'm the only contractor at that location, but there's a designer and there's, whoever, it's not affiliated with me. It's just other companies that use their company. And so they answer all my calls, 904-500 Lane, LANE, go straight to that. Which is the number on my Google listing and all that stuff. And they put a spreadsheet that we share in Google Drive or whatever. And then I'll say who, the date, who it was, if it's residential or commercial or industrial, the address of the job, brief description, and who took the call. So Alyssa took the call and they want this done. And I have a macro set up where it's like, I can just click a button. So it goes approved, rejected, or pending. Then I can make a note on another cell. So I'm like, okay, Jesse has emailed and they're approved, or residential mom wants their door fixed on their garage, rejected, done. And I'll send a rejection email if I have the time, but I get thousands, hundreds of these things every month. So it's, but through that, 10% of it, 8% of it is juicy commercial clients, right? So that's how, hopefully I'm answering your question here, but that's how I get my clients outbound marketing. And that's my number one. That's my number one.
Got it. So you don't really need to go do outbound. You're not running ads necessarily. You have so much traffic coming to you organically.
Yeah, but how could someone who doesn't have that do it?
Yeah.
And how I started before all the Google beast that I've created, monster, is Thumbtack, Home Advisor, Angie's List. I never was on Angie's List because you had to pay for it. I mean, I think you had to pay for Thumbtack too, but I was on Thumbtack for the first year of my company. Hey, you need your steps built. Hey, you need a deck. Whatever it took to do it, I did. And I would get the reviews and do amazing work and treat them like gold. That's how you start. I ran Craigslist posts, residential contractor or whatever. I didn't, say residential commercial. I probably said I did both, but long story short, we do decks, we do additions, we do kitchens and bathrooms. So I got a lot of my first work.
Yeah. Cool.
You got to do it.
Yeah. You just got to get out there and hustle. It's not,
yeah.
No
one's going to do it for you.
Yeah. The field of dreams business development strategy just doesn't work. There's no kind old man saying, build it and they will come. They will. There's no James Earl Jones monologue talking about how they'll come and they'll sit outside your office and they'll pay you to do work for them. But if
you can get them to come, you'll build it.
Yeah.
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 Right to left thinking.
There you go. Let's talk about outsourcing. Let's hit on that a little bit. You set up some systems where you're leveraging your time by outsourcing. What else do you outsource other than your receptionist? Do you have other outsourcing that
So there's the low-hanging fruit. Like I want to talk to the listeners as maybe you are learning or you're scared to outsource and you're still mowing your lawn. Let me just start with this. Low-hanging fruit, like you're getting a haircut, going grocery shopping, mowing your lawn, cleaning your house, cooking your meals. I outsource all of that. That's the first thing that you should start with. If you haven't started there, that's where you should start. Then you can move into estimating commercial or residential, estimating your projects, getting a project manager. Okay. I've learned that I cannot live without getting a project manager, especially now that we've are doing these larger commercial or residential. We're still doing some, like I have a $250,000 double-story addition over in a really nice area in town. We'll put our sign up and it'll be good. So as long as the margins are there, like my roots are in residential. But long story short, I cannot live without delegating to a project manager, especially on this vet clinic, because it's like every single millwork inch and every single x-ray move and electrical and plumbing and mechanical, it's all got to come together. Did we order the right trim? Is buying out subcontractors? Are they scoped? Like I used to sit there and do it all myself. And that's kind of how I've built this company to have the margin to be where I'm at today. Is I've literally done a 12-person company myself for 3.5, 4 years or whatever. Now that we're in our 6th year, so I've had a little bit of seasoning with a project manager, estimator, which is the same person, and the video, the marketing, he's new. So as of 2 weeks ago, I'm the guy editing every single YouTube video, every single Instagram post. I'm not recommending this. I'm just saying this is me. And I'm just being transparent. But I would start by delegating the low-hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is the stuff that's easy to grab. And so if it's easy to grab, you can pay someone $10 an hour to do it. I get shipped, SHIPT. I don't know what location you're in, but Publix is where I'm in Florida, and they'll just deliver groceries straight to my door. I have preset things for groceries that I set up, and it comes straight to my door. I have meal prep with a company called Super Fit Foods. They're actually national. I was just having coffee with the CEO last month, but Jared, great guy. He has a company. They do, a few $1 million a year, and they ship your meals straight to your door. I actually pick them up at the local running store at a fridge, but long story short, I put them into the microwave with a paper towel on top, and I eat it, and I wash my fork, and I throw the thing in the recycling thing. I'm done. I've saved 40 hours a month doing that. Look, what could you do with 40 hours?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So people who say, I just don't have time. I'm so busy. I just don't have time. There's probably a lot of crap that can be eliminated, like binge watching Game of Thrones or watching the news.
Todd, don't get me started, brother. Entertainment. You're suspended between 2 points of attainment. You're never attaining. That's what entertainment is. If you want to go nowhere in life, get lost in Netflix. Or if you want to go somewhere in life, get lost in Netflix for construction business owners at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com.
What a
right?
What an
What a
unprompted but
resource.
shameless plug. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of it is eliminate the crap and redeem your time. Stop wasting time on stuff that has absolutely no value for you. Um, and let's outsource some of the things that have to be done. You have to eat. I'm curious how you outsource your haircuts. Maybe you have a
Well,
toupee
no,
that you ship off. I don't know.
yeah, that was very strange that I said haircuts. I just go get my haircut. But I'll say this: my superintendent just shaved his head, not shaved, but like buzzed his head. I'm like, dude, what happened to your beautiful head of hair? He's like, dude, I just didn't have time. I mean, it's sitting there combing it every day, washing it. So he just shaved it off. So I'm like, that's insane. But I want to touch back on Netflix, but I want to talk about friends. The group of people you hang out with, I've not cut off. They're still my best friends, but I stopped hanging out with the people that, I don't want to say that waste my time, but I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't have the entrepreneurial friends. I didn't have the people that were, they're just kind of not really going. They're like mid-30s. I'm talking to some of my friends, and I stopped hanging out with them as much. But just not really doing anything, man. They're just like, have a job. They come home, they eat dinner, and they watch whatever. I'm just like, that's not me. I'm out. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of a cliche, but you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Very true.
So if you want to change your life, change the stuff you're putting into your brain, books, podcasts. Obviously, this podcast should be at the top of the list. YouTube
Number
channel,
one, yeah.
like Jesse Lane TV.
Like mine.
Exactly. And then the people you hang out with, upgrade. I try to, I don't want to be the smartest, most successful guy in the room. I want to be around people who make me feel dumb.
I hate that. And to say this regarding number one guy in the room, I try to be the number 3 guy in the room if there's 3 guys with my employees. So it's like, project manager, Jesse, what do I do? I said, I'm not going to say his name, but Timmy, stop asking me, what do I do? This is my plan. What do you think? And then after 6 months of that, I'll say, give me a report at the end of the week of all your decisions. So there's levels, like you talked, Todd, about 5 levels of delegation. But there's a process, so, you're doing everything yourself. And but that's kind of how I think is I don't want to be, answer everyone's questions, the number one guy in the room. Jesse, what do I do? Oh, well, if it was me, but no, I've stopped doing that because it's not, what happens when I leave for 10 weeks? Right. If I get that opportunity, what happens if I want to go on vacation with my future wife that I haven't met yet? Well, that could be a long ways off, but I want my team to be well-versed in decision-making because that's the biggest part of business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll share this idea that I came up with. It could be the closest thing to an epiphany that I've had in a while. You were at the Advance a couple of weeks ago in Fort Myers, which is where we met and got to hang out.
It was amazing. Yeah.
And I realized we spent 2 full days in the classroom talking about stuff, and that was pretty good. What I found was that a lot of people said one of the most valuable things for them was getting the opportunity to hang out with other business owners, for you to be able to talk to guys from Michigan and New Jersey and other parts of Florida who are doing very similar work to you, but you're not competitors, and everybody can just share all these ideas and struggles. And people said things like,
and now we follow each other on Instagram and talk, and it's amazing.
Yeah. So there's this community that has been that's developed, and you've got this support network, and there are people who have talked to each other. And I've asked folks, hey, can you call one of my other clients? He's going through a rough spell, and there's this community that developed. But then I realized after I got back, one of the best things that I may have done inadvertently, well, there are 2 things. One, I created an excuse to get away from the office. Let's go to Fort Myers. Some people piggybacked a few days off and turned it into a vacation. But then the other thing that I didn't realize until I got back was that I created this thing that forced people to be away from their business for at least 1 day. And some folks were away for a week. And when they were gone for a week, it forced them to plan and delegate and communicate, do all these things.
So good. So true.
And I realized, well, I was chatting with a couple of my clients, and they had turned it into a week-long vacation. And I said, why would you want to go back to the way you were doing things before? What if you could run your business like that and take a week-long trip every quarter or every month? And the reason we don't do that is because the constraint is not there. It's like, if you know you're going to go on vacation, you have to get it done. But if you know you're going to be around, then you'll just say, well, I'll just deal with it. I'll be here. So here's what I'm thinking. You tell me what you think. This is completely unprompted. What I'm thinking about doing is create this this program where it's like, hey, I'm going to set up trips once a quarter, once every 6 months. We're going to get together. We're going to have the community of construction business owners. We're going to get together and train and work on your business. And we're going to talk about how you can put systems and processes in place so that your business will run without you 1 week out of the quarter. And then if you can do that one week out of the quarter, you could do it one week out of every month. What if you could take a week off every month?
That's awesome.
And have your business work without you, and it generates the money to pay for the trip.
Dude, it's everything. The goal of an entrepreneur is that. You know about the E, the S, the B, and the I quadrant, right? With Robert Kiyosaki. The E quadrant is the employee. The S quadrant, self-employed or small business. And to get to the other side, the B quadrant, it's kind of like a four-square thing. The B quadrant, top right, is the business owner, the big business, and the bottom right corner is I, investor. But going back to the B is to go from doing everything yourself in the S quadrant because you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a contractor that does all the work himself, installs his own cabinets. Well, to get to the B, you need other people that you can create systems for, say, this is how I want it done. And then you can collaborate with them and say, what do you think? And give them the reins.
Absolutely.
And then come hang out with Todd and Jesse and watch horse racing.
Exactly. Or we'll go to San Diego and spend a week in San Diego or Puerto Rico or Hawaii.
Oh man, that sounds amazing.
Or if you want to go do missions trips, one of the things I hear consistently from business owners is they say, I want to grow my business to a point so I can do something else. I want to go do missions. I want to be able to go to Haiti or go to the Philippines for 2 weeks at a time.
Right.
I want to start another business. I want to go do something else. And that's never going to happen. Typically, it never happens until there's something that forces it to happen.
And let me talk about an actual tactile approach to this, is how you can actually do it. Because the mindset's there, but how do you do it? So what I've done is I've created a separate website. I won't say what it is, but it's password protected, and only my internal team knows about it. But I built it kind of similar to my main website, where there's buttons along the top, menus, and then you can click down. And then once you click down, it's like every single task that the office manager, it's broken down: superintendent, project manager, office manager, estimator, bookkeeper, and other or whatever, So everything that, and then you click into how to pay a subcontractor. And then I have bullet points, photos of what buttons to click on Builder Trend, red squares showing exactly which portion of the screen I'm talking about. It's all listed out. So if someone really gets stuck, and not, I'm not 100% the way done building these things. I'm like less than 20, for building my whole company, but I might have to be 92% complete with this in the next 10 weeks, potentially, because I really have to leave with this. If this HDTV thing comes through for me, that is even bigger than taking a week off. That is 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, like you're speaking up my my alley here, because I'm like, really got to put my whole business together. And that's what my marketing, IT, video guy is going to help me do, because he's actually a Builder Trend whiz as well. And that's a big reason why I hired him. He knows everything. So, and I'm getting my project manager. Anyway, I won't drag it on, but that's a tactile approach.
No, I love it. I think that's brilliant. It's the franchise approach. If you bought a franchise for a Blimpie or a Subway or whatever, you're going to get a book. And and it's the book. And if somebody asks you a question, the response is RTFB, read the freaking book, because it's all been figured out. It's all consistent. There are very few questions. I've even heard interviews with entrepreneurs who would say, let's say they had 4 or 5 people working in their office doing customer service, and a question came in and it was new. Then somebody asked the owner how do they handle it, and then the owner would walk out and say, all right, everybody listen up. Here's the question. Here's how I want you to handle it. Here's how I'm thinking about it. And then they put it into a repository. So you've got this, like you're talking about, an internal FAQ that they can search for, and that's the place you send people. So imagine if you had an internal repository of here's how you do this, here's how we manage projects, here's where we find these things. Maybe there's videos, training videos. What a great way to onboard somebody. To have. Yeah,
I have videos on there as well.
To do that.
Embed them, make them unlisted on YouTube, and you can embed them or just do a Vimeo. So, but here's the other thing that's interesting is a lot of contractors I talk to do not have these systems, because I'm like reaching out, I'm scratching at people's doors when I'm first starting. I'm like, give me your playbook. What's your operations manual? Like, they're like, operations who?
Don't have
and
one.
I'm like, all right. And so it was kind of distressing at first. And even when I come to these events, not just yours, but others, and I'm talking to these other contractors, they do 30 million a year, 10 million a year, whatever it is. They just use, I'm like, well, talk to me. Like, what do you do? Like, Word documents? And they're like, yeah, we just Word documents and spreadsheets. I'm like, and phone calls. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you're like way ahead of what we're even doing right now because of your builder trend and the way you're thinking about it and stuff like that. I'm like, gotta be kidding. There's gotta be something I'm missing. So I don't know. If you have systems, email me, jesse@jlaneconstruction.com. Let's talk. But I'd love to anyway.
Yeah. No, I think systems like that are key to outsourcing, certainly. They're also
you have to have them.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to outsource or delegate, then you have to have these systems. Otherwise, you're going to be the bottleneck for information. It's also key for onboarding new hires, for training the current people. If you want to get away from your business, then you have to create these systems. And what I'm thinking is this program I'm talking about, where I'm going to give you an excuse to get away from your business 1 week out of every quarter, and then I'm going to show you how to put these systems in place, and we'll do it as a group. So it's like the excuse, the constraint. Let's work on how to do it. It's like this virtuous circle or something. And unless, and here's what I'll say, if you're listening to this, unless you put some sort of constraint in there, until you force yourself to do it, you will never do it. There has to be something. So I posted this on LinkedIn. If you want to get away from your business for a week, and you're waiting for your business to be ready for you to be away from a week, you're going to wait a long time. So if you want your business to run without you for a week, step 1, go buy some non-refundable tickets. Book the trip, get yourself away from it, create the commitment, create the constraint, and then you'll be forced to do it. That's the It sounds crazy, but that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back out of that. Was a very interesting rabbit hole. But let's talk about mindset. How do you what importance do you place on mindset? I'll just throw that out there, and you take it however you want to.
Yeah, like I've already touched on the low-hanging fruit. I think that's important. The growth versus the maintenance. Focus you as the entrepreneur on making the right decisions. Get your mind clear by delegating the low-hanging fruit. So I mean it. Go get your hair cut. That's a joke, but get someone to mow your lawn and all the other junk, clean your house. You don't need to be scrubbing your toilet. I think social media, can I touch on that?
Absolutely.
I think social media isn't creating, this is kind of off the cuff, but it's not creating bad in the world. Or like you say, like, I don't want to go watch cat videos and Donald Trump memes or whatever. Well, first of all, what you put into it, you get out of it. But, and you can go there and you see a lot of bad stuff as well. And so it's not creating bad, it's just exposing it, in my opinion. And that's a line from Gary Vee. I watch Gary Vaynerchuk's vlogs. and he's very insightful when it comes to social media. So I think that's what it is. It's like, well, what you put in, you get out. So that's my mindset on social media. And I really think that you should be using it to your advantage. And we know this, we hear it all the time. I should be posting pictures. But I met this guy, Toby. I can't remember his company name. Sorry, Toby, but Toby. And he's doing these Instagram stories of his new projects and posts. And I think that's fantastic. That's what people are going to see. And you can even make ads if you put money into like a targeted video. You can target like real estate brokers, and or if you're residential, you could target people from 30 or 29 to 39 years old and their interests. And you guys know, I mean, Facebook targeting, and you can do the whole thing and really use it to your advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a guy named Spencer Powell who has a done-for-you social media service, and it is ridiculously expensive. You're talking about outsourcing. So when Spencer gave a presentation at the Advance, walked through a few mistakes that builders and remodelers typically make with social media, and they don't do it enough, and it's not targeted, it's not strategic, etc. And Spencer has this done-for-you program that basically will save you, 4 to 6 hours a month and do a better job, and you don't have to think about it. Like it's like ordering food and having it shipped to your house. So
right.
If you're listening and you're interested in this, then look me up, send me an email, and I can get you in touch with Spencer Powell. He's running a special deal with a discount for podcast listeners. But you need to check that out. And you have to be on social media, right? Maybe you don't care about, maybe you don't like to read stuff on social media, but your future customers are on there. Your future employees are, your referral partners, all these people you want to connect with, they're on there, right?
Think 10 years from now, guys. It's the guys, the contractors that are like I ran off on that rant before about the systems and no one really has it. What I'm saying is the construction industry and contractors are the slowest to evolve for some reason. It's a 100-year industry. I can't remember. It's the number 2. I'm trying to remember what the number 1 is, but I don't remember. Maybe you know, Todd. But it's a number 2 slowest evolving industry. So how can we change that with the information age that we're in? We're not in the industrial age anymore, where everything was, factories and school. Oh, school. That's number 1. So the number 1 slowest to evolve is the school system, and that's why it's so behind. It's get good grades. I'm not going to run off on that. But long story short is use social media to your advantage, because think 10 years from now, it's not going to be, oh, should I be on social media or not? It's like, are you out of business or not? So.
Yeah, definitely. And the competition out there is so low. So few contractors are using Facebook and Instagram well that it's sort of like Google reviews. You hit on it. You're the number 1 Google rated general contractor in Jacksonville, and that's not a small town. I know there are.
I'll tell you, Haskell, they have 22 offices across the country. They're in Nicaragua and whatever they're in. We're above them on Google. You know what I mean? We're actually working with them at Bacardi right now. But anyway, continue.
No, that's interesting, because maybe you're a general contractor and you're like, yeah, we've been around for 80 years and my great grandpa started this place with a shovel and a Model T. Well, that's great. You all know that story. But the people who moved in to Jacksonville and wanted to open a waxing center, they don't know that.
Right.
What they do know is Google.
Right.
So
how can we serve the client? And that's all they care about. What can we do for you? What's in it for me as the client?
Yeah. And they're using Google. So if you're not, they're using social media, they're going on Facebook and they're looking at your websites. Right. They don't know what the inside of your conference room looks like.
When the people call me, they know everything about me.
Right.
Already. Like they've probably been on our website. Of course.
This is an interesting point. So years ago, people started their buying process by making a phone call or sending an email. Nowadays, by the time they contact you, they've already done 60 to 70% of their research, and They are
So
way
true.
down the road. And
Yeah.
there are so many people that you're losing and you're not even knowing it. This is what people who aren't on social media are missing out on. It's the customers they're losing and they don't know about it because
Exactly.
the customers can't, if you're not on social media and you don't have an online presence, they can't find you. You're invisible and they're going
Exactly.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about leadership for a few minutes. How do you think about leadership?
Man, yeah, I don't want to drag this out too long, but I think to train people, fill the knowledge gap, don't assume they understand, right? And the biggest problem in communication, I think, is the assumption that it's taken place. So, hey, this is how you do this thing. Got it? Yeah, got it. Well, you turn around for 5 seconds, done completely backwards. So I think there's a process that needs to be understood about assuming people understand what you're saying. When people come to me all emotional with their problems, what do? I don't just give them the answer. And I touched on that before. I say, well, give me the solution that you come up with and just run it by me to start. So I know that your mindset is where I would be, or even better than I would be, and then make good decisions. And if they truly can't figure it out on their own, I guide them through it, the whole thought process of how I would handle it, and see what they could bring to the table as well. But yeah, I think leadership is what you put into it.
Yeah, it's not common misconception is that if you're the leader, you think it's your job to give people the answer. And
right.
I think it's your job to help people learn how to think differently.
Fantastic point.
Yeah.
And that is the point I just made as well. So that's the main point on leadership, I believe. Help
Absolutely.
people think for themselves. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. Let's talk about video. You've got a YouTube channel.
Cool.
What's the business case for, because what you're doing is, we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing on the video, on your YouTube channel and with video, and how does it connect to your business?
Right. So we'll end with this, and pretty much I started a YouTube channel in 2006. Actually, I was real young, and we would just do skateboarding videos. None of that's on there anymore. But in 2013, I started with that same channel. I started posting again. This is kind of after I was getting more into construction, and well, a little bit before the construction business. So, but long story short, I was doing a lot of guitar lessons. So I'm just going to breeze by this real quick, but I pretty much have about 15,000 subscribers on this guitar channel, and reached over 2 million people, and I've changed people's lives with that. But I recently made a new channel called just Jesse Lane, and that's the one I'm posting on now. Because I was very conflicted. I've stopped playing guitar because I've whittled down my time. So I've touched on that as far as, focusing on your time so you can make clear decisions, et cetera. But I'm using the YouTube to really just build my personal brand. And I think that's more important than ever. And I think, like I said, the 10-year approach, your personal brand is going to be worth more than anything else. I mean, attention is money. And if you can have people, kind of following your journey, that's kind of my thought process on it is, even if people don't buy my construction products or projects, if they're across the country, I have people message me I did an Instagram post on my Instagram story yesterday, but it was just this guy from Jamaica, this guy from London, this guy from, all across the world that watch my YouTube channel that are inspired. And I give consulting calls as well from people all across the world. And I've changed their lives in big and some small ways of helping them start their own construction business. And so I think that's my main purpose and goal behind it. Plus you never know who's going to find you, right? So I've touched on that before. But that's my main thing. I'm really still learning about the company aspect of things. And what do I put on company? What do I put on personal? That's always been a struggle in my mind. And honestly, I'm still working through it. I put the testimonials on my company, Facebook and website, and a little bit on Instagram. My @JLane Construction on Instagram there's 12 photos on there, one video, but working on it. But I'm mainly focusing on Jesse Lane TV, which is @Jesse Lane TV because Jesse Lane was taken, so I don't know what else to do. So that's my Instagram. But to be clear, my YouTube channel is not called Jesse Lane TV. It's just Jesse Lane. Long story short, I hope that answers your question of kind of what I'm doing with business. And
yeah, personal brand. It's huge. A lot of people underestimate it. It's not just about the company, but definitely about personal brand. So, well, listen, we're running up against time. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing. This has been extremely helpful.
Awesome.
I enjoyed the conversation. If people want to find out more about what you're up to, where should they go?
I think the biggest thing would either be my Instagram or my YouTube. And like I said, it's at Jesse Lane TV. So it's JESSE, there's no I, LAN as in Nancy, E, TV. That's Instagram. And then on YouTube, you can actually go to youtube.com/Jesse Lane Vlogs, VLOGS, or you could just search for Jesse Lane and I'll, you'll see my photo there. You can click onto my channel and connect with me there. Subscribe to the channel, watch a few videos, get to know me, leave some comments. I'd love to know you came from the podcast. That'd be really cool.
Sounds good, man. Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for taking the time to share. And everybody listening, go out there, connect on Instagram, get on YouTube, check out Jesse. He's a fascinating dude. Thanks, man.
It's good hanging with you guys.
There you go. Make sure and check out Jesse's YouTube channel. Get to his website, go follow him on Instagram, hook up with him. He's a great guy. He's going to be doing great things. You're going to want to learn from him. And don't forget, if you want to schedule your free call with me, if you're a second-generation business owner, or if you're a partnership, husband-wife team, or you're just frustrated by the way things are going, I want to help. I want to put you in touch with the right people, put you in touch with my resources, help you out however I can. The first step is to schedule a free call. Go to constructionleadingedge.com/call and schedule your free strategy call. Also, if you're interested in having freelance work done, or if you're interested in being a freelancer, then send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. I'll be rolling out this beta version of this platform. And if you want to get in on that, then shoot me an email. And then, as always, go to my website, constructionleadingedge.com. There are lots of resources there. If you want to schedule a call, you can click a red button to schedule your free call. You can also click a red button to see webinar replays, training information, lots of free resources there. Go to constructionleadingedge.com. And if you want the notes to this call, go to constructionleadingedge.com/116 for all the links and everything. And as always, I appreciate the ratings, the reviews, the feedback. If you could leave a rating and review on the podcast player of your choice, that would be greatly appreciated. That helps get the word out there to the rest of the world. And if you could do me a favor, share this podcast with 2 people that you work with. Maybe they're a subcontractor or a general contractor or a friend of yours or a colleague. Share it with them and share your favorite podcast episode with them, because, hey, we're all here to help each other get better together, right? There you go. Thanks for listening. I'm Todd from constructionleadingedge.com. I'll see you next time.